Yes, we are live. It is Tuesday, February 10th, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. A little bit delayed this week, but it's for a great reason, and that's that I get to be joined by a special guest host today. Edward Stevens joins me. I'm Charlie Eisenhood. Welcome, everybody. Edward, this is the first time that we have co-hosted the pod together. I can't believe it. You've done this so many times without me.
I know. It's been years of me making horrendous picks for you in the pick section, and finally I get to do it to Keith.
Let's go. Yeah, how are you
Yeah.
feeling? You opened up the year by predicting that we wouldn't have UBC and Carleton in the finals in the women's division. You cannot be feeling good about that take right now.
I'd like to point out that I closed out last year making that prediction during 12 days. It was in December. Technically, I feel horrible about it. I think the genesis of that take was I wanted to pick the most interesting thing that I felt was possible. But
It's a bold prediction,
now,
if you will.
yeah, now I'm not feeling like it's possible. My one shining hope is that Element come in and make the final or even beat both of them this weekend at Prez Day. We'll get to it during the Prez Day picks, but they haven't made their season debut yet. That one's still on the shelf, but yeah, right now, those two teams are in a class of their own.
Well, folks, we've got a great one for you today. We're going to be talking Prez Day, which is tremendous this year. I mean, this is probably the most stacked Prez Day we've seen. We've got Queen City out east as well. But before we jump into all that, I wanted to bring this up because I was actually caught off guard by this. Of course, the Olympics are started. Edward, you been watching? You got that curling on?
Absolutely. I had the curling on last night at dinner. I know other people watching it during the day. I still don't understand the scoring. I do know it was thrilling. And yeah, I had some figure skating and downhill skiing on the day before. Breezy Johnson, Ilya Malinin. I'm also the Japanese skater who is going up against Ilya Malinin. I love the Winter Olympics. I think they're better than the Summer Olympics. This is my time of year.
I think I agree with the take. I really like all the skiing and snowboarding events, and figure skating is really cool. There's more skippable events, I feel like, during winter. Like, I don't really need to watch the guns shooting and like the biathlon and stuff like that. I don't need
What are
any
you
of that.
talking about? It's fine. It's fine. We know we have differences of opinion. This is just another one.
Anyway, what was surprising is that I didn't realize Stacey Gaskill, who of course everyone will remember from Colorado Quandary fame and playing with Molly Brown and, tremendous achievements on the ultimate field. People probably remember she was in the Olympics last Winter Olympic cycle in snowboard cross. Did well. I think finished 5th or 6th. I didn't think she was going to be able to compete this year because she tore her ACL at the end of 2024. She got surgery right at the end of the year, and basically missed the entirety of 2025. And actually, there were complications to the repair. She had to get more surgery later, but she has fought all the way back. She made the team, and she will compete in snowboard cross here in a couple of days, as someone who could legitimately medal or maybe win. I mean, I think there's some question marks about how the knee is doing, but Stacey seems to be living her best life. There's photos already up from her at the Olympics, and she's hanging out with Snoop Dogg. E-Money, she was in the commercial for the Olympics during the Super Bowl.
It's completely amazing. Like, way to go, Stacey. You're right up there with the Jamaican bobsled team who he was hanging out with during the opening ceremonies. Like, this is huge. Is this the most legitimate ultimate has ever been? And it's like by riding the coattails of an actual Olympic sport.
Well, I saw that. I guess she took like Frisbee athlete out of her Instagram bio, so the legitimacy is slipping fast. I'm sorry to say.
That's right. I don't mind. I'm happy for Stacey. I remember 4 years ago when she made it through. I forget how many like heats there were qualifying, but she made it through the first one at least, and maybe the first two to get to like the final 8 for snowboard cross. Looking forward to it again. I wish I had the time memorized, but I think it's like later this week that's happening.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where she finished. She finished 7th in snowboard cross, but she was in the final.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's incredible. Um, awesome stuff. Super Bowl, interesting one this year. I was happy, not as a 49ers fan, but as a bettor. I was on Seahawks, I was on the under, I was on the defense. I had defense anytime touchdown, and I came close to hitting my defense MVP winner, but not quite enough from an individual player.
Well, Charlie, something I wonder is whether you saw some of the defensive plays from. I'm not a huge football fan.
Witherspoon, the layout D,
They're so good. I mean, it just comes into
unbelievable.
focus. We have our block of the year that went up live for the subscribers can narrow down the field for block of the year. And I was going over those highlights and I was comparing them in my mind to these plays by the New England defensive back. Christian Gonzalez, is that his name? But yeah, his form is so.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little for me, Edward. If you want to check that internet connection, yeah, no, Devin Witherspoon, some unbelievable defensive plays. I mean, he was getting blocks on slants, which in the NFL is like impossible. And then he gets that crazy shoulder high layout D on the deep ball, and then also got a solo sack off of a crazy blitz, and then I think also forced the fumble or the strip sack maybe, or was like part of that play where they got the defensive touchdown. Amazing game. He was my best hope for defensive MVP, but the Seahawks were just incredible this year. I mean, I hate to say it as a 49er fan, but I kind of expected this outcome. Like the Patriots had the most fraud run through the playoffs of all time, and they ran into a team that's just really, really good. All right.
I mean, I don't have anything to add there. The Seahawks were by far the better defensive team. I didn't think the Patriots would score a touchdown.
It did look that way for a while. All right, trivia time. Trivia question of the week. Let's go.
All right, this time I get to be the one to test Charlie. Usually it's Keith testing his knowledge. Charlie, is my audio good again? I don't want you to have any excuses when you get this wrong.
No excuses. It sounds good.
Okay, we are in the thick of college season. And Charlie, as you know, for 12 years now, 12 different seasons, including the pandemic shortened 2020 season, Ultiworld has given out All American Awards. That's 12 years. There are 20 regions, 10 each, in D1 men's and D1 women's combined. Okay, you follow me so far? There are only 3 regions out of those 20 who have never placed a first team All-American in that time. What are those 3 regions? And I'll give you a little extra juice here. Every region has placed an All-American of some point. So they all have second team All-Americans. You're just looking for the ones that haven't done a first teamer.
Wow. Okay. So 3 of the 20. So I'm picking both region and division.
That's right.
Okay. Let me rule out some easy ones. So Northwest ruled out. They're not involved. That's not going to be a problem. Southwest, rule it out. They've definitely had first team All-Americans in both divisions. They've probably won Player of the Year in both divisions. Pretty sure they have. Okay, so let's see. I mean, we go to the obvious ones, right? We have Southeast, we have Great Lakes, we have Metro East as like likely candidates for this. But I want to say Metro East. I feel like Jolie Krebs surely got a first team All-American nod in the mix there. It's possible that she only got second team, but I'm going to rule that out. So I will say men's Metro East. I will say women's Great Lakes. And I will say women's Southeast. I feel like they've had All Americans, but I don't know if I can recall a first teamer from down south. No.
We were close, Charlie. You got 2 of the 3. Women's Southeast is not correct. Both Marie Perivier and way back in 2014, Merle Hammond for University of Central
the
Florida
UCF.
have been first teamers.
Yeah. Okay, well then let me go men's Great Lakes.
Nailed it. All 3. Yep, you were correct. Good pickup about Jolie Krebs. That was one where I was hoping to trip you up. Just so everybody knows, I have the full list of second teamers from each of these regions over the history. So for men's Great Lakes, that was Aaron Bartlett last year and Raymond Liu in 2021 when Michigan made the final. For Great Lakes women's, Kat McGuire made second team each of the last 2 years. Hannah Henkin did it a few years before that. I don't have the year handy. And Miri Chang did it for Michigan, as well as Julia Butterfield before she went to Stanford when she was still with Notre Dame, made second team in Great Lakes women's. And Charlie,
awesome
bonus question. Player. Yeah, completely amazing college player. Love watching Butterfield play. Bonus question is, can you name the one Metro East men's player to have made All-American second team? I think you can do it.
I'm like scrolling through about teams in my mind. Oh, Wodach.
Which one?
John
Wodach. Yeah, UConn. Wasn't he coached by Brian Jones that year?
Yeah. They were pretty good.
I think he was.
That team was pretty good. Yeah, he was good. I mean, he was borderline first teamer. I mean, he was that good. Awesome player. Nice. Well, I feel my Metro East bona fides go deep. Hussein Carnegie would have been an All-American, I think. But we didn't have, there was no ulti roll back then.
We didn't do the awards. Yeah, that might have been. Weren't you his teteammate though?
I was.
Such a conflict of interest, Charlie.
Of course, it was a terrible conflict of interest.
This purple haze mafia.
I need to make a correction. I screwed up. There were too many good defensive performances from Seattle. It was Christian Gonzalez that got the crazy blocks. It was Witherspoon that was blitzing effectively and playing great defense. But my apologies to Christian Gonzalez. That's how good the secondary is for the Seahawks. You get confused about who is making amazing plays. All right. Let's keep it moving. Let's talk Prez Day. I want to look at the pools first. Edward, what division you want to start in?
Oh, I want to start in women's.
All right, let's look at it. Let's pull it up. Women's division pools for Prez Day Invite 2026. I mean, this is just this might be the best tournament of the season in the women's division.
Nasty.
Like it's so strong. Like obviously Northwest Challenge can be really good. But with how good the West Coast is right now and Carleton coming out for this one, you're not missing a lot of the heavy hitters. I mean, Washington is the 7 seed. That's crazy.
I don't know that I buy that 7th seed business from Washington. They should be the 3rd. I know Santa Cruz had a great first weekend at Santa Barbara Invite. I know Stanford did as well until that 3rd place game. But come on, Washington, we're in the semis last year, have done nothing but keep virtually all of their best players and then reload with as good a crop of rookies as UBC and Carleton have. Like those are the top 3 in my mind. Although I don't mind seeing UBC Washington on day 1.
I mean, how deep do we go here before we start to hit teams that aren't in the top 25? I think it's just the 4 seeds that are not in the top 25.
And Western Washington they're making their sanctioned season debut. I think they had a scrimmage against Washington a couple weeks ago.
Indeed, they're 18th in the rankings.
And Minnesota, Cal, and Utah are kind of all hovering near the top 25 as well. We're not going to spend too much ink about them, but I'm pretty curious about this Minnesota team. They've gotten a few big recruits, Abigail Kuhn, Veronica Jansen, last couple of years, and I wonder if that program could be on the rise. So just noting that outside everything else that happens here.
Well, once again, we have Carleton and UBC up at the top. Carleton wins round 1 at SBI. Now we're back with even more strong teams in the field. Colorado makes their season debut. Oregon's here. And, you go all the way down to the 16th seed and you have good teams. Like this is the craziest Prez Day field I think we've ever seen. I mean, it speaks to the strength right now of the West Coast in the women's division. But I'm super excited. I feel like most games will be pretty interesting. Like I love that we get Washington UBC in pool play. I mean, we shouldn't get it, but we're getting it. We're going to get it. And what an awesome opportunity to see how Washington stacks up. Essentially their first meaningful game of the year.
Yeah, I mean it's huge. I mean, we probably would have gotten it on day 2, something like that in power pools anyway. Washington versus either Carleton or UBC. But yeah, let's go ahead and get it out of the way. This I think is the biggest question of the tournament: how Washington stack up against both Carleton and UBC. And we saw in the final of SBI exactly how good Carleton are. Jumped out to that early 8-3 lead. We saw UBC rest most of their starters and then come back and tie the game with the second string, tie it at 10-10 before Carleton finally pulled away. Like, these are two like A+++ S tier teams. I don't even know the lingo the kids use when they're like ranking their groups anymore. But you and Keith talked about in your college preview show whether Washington is in that group or not. I expect that they probably are, but I don't know. This is where we find out. This is where the rubber meets the road.
We're going to get a lot of opportunities to see how these teams stack up, especially with the power pool format, where we just get a ton of games between the strong teams on day 2. And yeah, like there's tons of teams here that we still feel like we need to find out more information about, right? I mean, I think a lot of the Southwest teams, we're still kind of wondering, how strong are they relative to each other? How will they match up with some of these strong out of region teams like Colorado, like Washington, like Oregon? And we just get nothing but high quality games. I mean, this really does feel like Northwest Challenge in terms of quality this year. And it's such a treat to get this in mid-February. Like, are there certain teams you want to see prove something this weekend? Are you worried, for instance, let's just start at the top. Are you worried if UBC loses to Carleton again? Or like maybe they drop a game to another team this weekend?
No, I'm not. The answer to your first question, yes, there are teams I think are looking to prove something. I don't think UBC are one of them. I'm not worried about them at all. Unless they get hit with a rash of injuries, they are doing great. I mean, we saw what their second string could do against Carleton. They also played that entire game without 2 key pieces in Madoka Woke and Noor Altaba. I know Carleton was missing somebody as well. I'm not trying to minimize Carleton at all. They're incredible. But those are 2 teams that I don't think have anything to prove except, maybe testing their resolve against one another in what figures to be, a full spring's worth of amazing battles. It's when I look for teams that have something to prove, I'm looking first toward Colorado and Oregon. Small correction, Colorado are not making their season debut. They were at Santa Barbara Invite as well. And they kind of got their butts handed to them by Stanford a little bit in quarterfinals there. They just weren't clicking when they needed to. They couldn't really slow down the Harper Bear, Esther Philippek duo on offense, and they were having trouble executing against Stanford's looks on defense. I don't think there's any doubt about the talent of Colorado, but you want to see a full tournament effort instead of a pretty good day 1 and then they kind of have a clunky bracket. You want to see that they have that like semis floor. This is a team who were, I don't know, a couple of plays away from making semis last year. They had a phenomenal quarterfinal at Nationals against Washington. And if they're at that same level this year, I want to start to see it this weekend because I didn't see it at Santa Barbara Invite. I think they are, but I don't know, and I want them to prove it. And then Oregon kind of had a disaster of an SBI. I don't know if there was some lingering illness, some players they were missing that were contributing to that, but results wise, they did not do well. They barely got past UCLA before kind of they lost to Carleton 13-1. It's one thing to lose to Carleton. It's another
Yeah.
thing to get run out of the arena. And they simply need to show up better than that. I don't know what the results need to be, but they need to comfortably beat the teams that they should be beating, and they need to actually look competitive against the other top teams here.
100%. I mean, they have the most question marks. I think you're willing to give them a pass in early January, maybe some questions about flu going around. If they play like this again, I mean, I think you have to smash the alarm bells in Eugene. I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen a Fugue team have as poor a performance as they did at Santa Barbara Invite. I honestly don't remember. It's like pre-COVID. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, hard to imagine them like being a championship team this year, but I feel like coming into the year, it seemed like they're probably going to be a semis team, and they looked nothing like that at SBI. So huge question marks for them. I think there's also some like real big bid implications this weekend. Can Minnesota
Mm-hmm.
do some damage? If they can pick off even like slow, right? They have a tough pool. That's a really, really tough pool. Um, but can they pick off slow or play super close and try to pull some of these West Coast points to the North Central? Because they're not going to make nationals if they don't earn a bid. It's that simple. Carleton's way too good. And I think Minnesota's pretty good this year, but this feels like a massive weekend for Minnesota, more so than almost probably any other tournament they play this year.
Yeah, and just to get to your specific question, I think they might be able to pick off Cal Poly, who, looked like they had more room to grow than we thought they would heading into the season when they were playing at SBI. They just weren't quite synced up. It's obvious how much talent that Norris Snyder and Coco Blakemore and Zaza Gelfand, and Zaza Gelfand did some kind of amazingly audacious, wonderful things playing for that D line. But they just didn't have it all clicking together the way they thought we would, and that might make those rankings points vulnerable, which isn't just bid implications for Minnesota and the North Central potentially, but also the bid implications in that crowded Southwest, and the fact that we're going to see all of these teams up against each other fighting for those bids again. Remember that they're not going to have 6 bids was too few for them last year, it felt like at regionals. And they're
Crazy.
not going to get 6 this year, regardless of how well they perform. They're capped at 5 max. I feel pretty good saying that Stanford and UC Santa Cruz will clear the bar. And for the third spot, UC San Diego looked surprisingly to me really strong at Santa Barbara Invite, and I feel like they're the leader of the pack for the next bid. But Davis, UC Santa Barbara, and UCLA are all gunning after Cal Poly. UCLA was kind of a surprise team at SBI as well. Sabrina Belkin is playing out of her mind, and I wonder who's actually going to get the inside track for bids like 3 through 5 out of that region this year.
Lots to learn this weekend. It's an interesting tournament with power pools. I'm not going to try to really predict the bracket too much, but let's pick pick your semifinalists and your finals and your winner. Who you taking to take this thing? And these picks are going on Keith's ledger, by
Uh,
the way.
I know. I really want to do something wild, Tim. I'm going to stick with my guns for the first 3 semifinalists. Give me Carleton, UBC, and Washington. I know Washington are coming in as the 7 seed. I happen to think that is incorrect, and that they'll prove me correct on that front in a couple of days. For the 4th semifinalist, that's where I really don't know whether I want to see the big bounce back up from Oregon, the small bounce back up from Colorado, the step forward from UC San Diego, or kind of a continuing excellence from UC Santa Cruz or Stanford. I think we're going to see the next step forward from Colorado. So give me Colorado to round out the semifinalists. I want a Washington upset in semis of either Carleton or UBC. Um, Not sure who they're going to face. So I'll just say it's going to be a Washington UBC final, and Carleton will leave California with bulletin board material afterwards.
Yeah, I think you're zagging enough to ding Keith because I just don't think I see this
Yes.
Carlton UBC combo not making the finals again. Um, I like the picks overall though for semis. I'm gonna go Carlton UBC UW Stanford. I'm gonna take Stanford and not Santa Cruz. I think it's a tough call though. I think there's like 4 or 5 teams that could get that last spot. Um, And then I do have Carleton and UBC going through clean into the finals. And I'm going to go with them again. I'm going to take UBC again. I took them at SBI. I think it's easier to adjust after a loss. And I think we're going to see, a little bit more full strength. Hopefully everybody's healthy. And should be another fantastic final. So give me UBC over Carleton. Um, let's go over to the men's division. Let's take a look at the pools. We do have the streaming schedule for you in just a moment. We'll get to that. But let's take a look at the men's pools. Certainly not as strong a tournament as on the women's side, as to be expected, given the just overall incredible strength of the Northwest and Southwest regions right now in the women's division. Colorado is your number one overall seed. Oregon, the 2. UVic, the 3, Santa Cruz, Oregon State, Utah, Stanford, and Utah Valley rounding out the top 8. Colorado, of course, making the national championship game a year ago, falling short to Carleton, and they make their season debut here at Prez Day. And I
As
got
is
to be honest,
tradition.
as is tradition, I'm looking forward to this Colorado Oregon game that we're going to get at some point this weekend.
Oh my God. No look throws from Tobias Brooks, basketball jerseys all over the field, making it tough to recognize the Oregon players, skinny sidelines. Let's go.
I mean, do you let take me through Colorado as they enter this season and kind of the expectations and as they make their debut, what should we be looking for from them this weekend?
I mean, with this Colorado team, I have been tracking. It's their fourth year class, their senior class now, since they came in as an amazing class of recruits in 2022. This is the Ryan Shigley, Tucker Kalmus, Zeke Thorson class of recruits, and every year they have taken another step forward from getting eliminated. I can't remember if it was quarters or pre-quarters in their first season, and then making it to semis and losing to Brown the next year. Last year as juniors, they made the final, and they have struck me. And obviously, they're getting huge contributions from other players as well. Guys like drafted off the B team, like Ryan Allenson, Tobias Brooks, of course, um, uh, Elliot Hawkins, and Ezra Thorson, and a couple of the other guys from last year's freshman class are huge. But I've been watching the way this group, and I didn't even mention Nandam and Think as part of it, have been kind of like stepping up as a unit and kind of growing both in chemistry and skill as well as like maturity of outlook. I think if Colorado are going to win a title in the next, let's say, 5 years, this is the year that they're going to do it. It seemed that way even through last season. They got plenty of teams, Carleton, UMass, Oregon at the top of that list, who could get in the way. But this is a really good team. They're going to run that offense basically like we saw last year, where they can get back anything that they turn over, and they will turn it over sometimes. And they're adding Elliot Hawkins to it. We saw what he could do in the club season with Johnny Bravo. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's Gonna be a great first test for them. The field is not super deep, but there's gonna be some big tests along the way, and none bigger than Oregon, who have played already this season, but kind of more of like a warm up tournament. And now we get a chance to see them in major action. I I feel like it's possible we come out of this weekend feeling like Oregon's the best team in the country. Is that possible?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it starts with I never, Oregon are a super deep team. I don't want to drill anything this far. I don't want to attribute everything to their star level play, but it truly starts with how special Micah Glass and Raquan Adkins are, particularly in the last 9 months. The whispers around Raquan Adkins' ceiling from like all corners. And I hear this everywhere I go. Anybody I talk to, if the conversation even borders on, oh, US beach team, Revolver, Oregon, like everybody wants to talk about what an amazing talent Raquan Adkins is. And paired with what we've already seen from Micah Glass, those two have so much to contribute over just about anybody else that, yeah, this could be shaping up to be a special team.
I'm excited to see what they've got in store for us, especially against top tier opponent. Like maybe they see Colorado in the final. Um, then of course I'm excited to see UVic again. I mean, what an SBI they had, and now they got to kind of back it up as the field gets a little bit stronger here down in San Diego.
First off, thank you so much to UVic for beating UC Santa Cruz in semis and winning that tournament, getting themselves the 3 seed here, because that is what sets up the Santa Cruz Oregon State matchup in pool play on day one, which I think is the number one match from a fan's perspective that you want to see. Thank you, UVic, for doing that. And then as far as they're concerned on their own, this is the UVic that I feel like we've been waiting to see for like 3 years. Between them and UBC, we've known the talent is there, and they haven't quite put it together for these American college seasons. I think we're actually starting to see it from UVic, which is pretty nice.
All right. Any other teams you want to kind of watch this weekend, or feel like have something to prove?
Uh, I think Utah have something to prove. They made the final at SBI, but I wasn't always convinced that they were playing their best ultimate. I want to see them really clean it up from a floor perspective. And the team I'm most interested in is probably Stanford. You see them seeded. This is amazing. When was the last time you saw Stanford enter a tournament seeded ahead of Cal Poly Slow? I mean, they're in the same pool, beat Cal Poly last time out. Alex Belfiore and company were doing awesome work. They look good on film. I'm asking myself, what's the ceiling? Are they going to make nationals this year?
Big weekend for that, right? I mean, for them and other Southwest teams who come out of the gate strong at SBI, you got to protect those bid points. Santa Cruz, Oregon State, that's could be bid on the line potentially down the road. I mean, how does Utah hang in there against UVic this time around? Utah Valley there, like there's the Northwest Southwest mix here is pretty interesting. And so, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's going to come down to those marginal bids. But yeah, Stanford, I mean, what's the last time we saw Cal Poly Slow not seated in the top like 5 of a tournament? I mean, even nationals, they've usually been up there and all the way down to 10th at a regular season tournament it's been a long, long time since we've seen this.
I mean, they got work to do.
Indeed. All right. Well, I'll go first. I made you go first in the women's division. Semis pick. Give me Colorado and Oregon. Simple stuff here. I really don't know where to go after that. I think I'm going to take Oregon State. I think they're going to be pretty darn good this year. Do I buy on this UVic team? It feels like a classic letdown spot for a UVic team that's got some tape on them, had the early hype. Don't get me wrong. I think they're a good team. I just don't know if it's reasonable to expect them to back it up and make a super deep run again. I think I'm going to take Santa Cruz. So I'm going to go Colorado, Oregon, Santa Cruz, Oregon State. Give me the big boys to get to the finals. Colorado versus Oregon. We're going to get this matchup, and I think it could be an early season classic.
Wait, but who's winning the early season classic?
I'll tell you once you give me your picks.
Oh, okay. All right, fine. All right. Well, I'm going to stick with you on Colorado and Oregon making the semis. Beyond that, I got about 7 teams I want to throw in there. I'm tempted by Washington. I think they're an incredibly volatile team, but when they're cooking, they can cook. But give me Santa Cruz for sure. I like their floor, so I think they're going to at least make semis. And then you know what? Give me Cal Poly slow redemption. Cal Poly,
Wow.
4th semifinalist. I don't think they're making it any farther than that, but I think they're going to be on a mission. So yeah, I think they get beat in semis. Do I see Santa Cruz upsetting either Colorado or Oregon? I don't. I see the same final that you do. I'm really excited. I think this, it's like we saw at warm up with Carleton and UMass. We had 2 teams we expected to be a step ahead of the field. I think that's what we're going to see here as well. And yeah, time to pick a winner.
All right. Give me Oregon. I feel like we're just going to get like a shock to start the year, and Oregon all of a sudden looks like they're for real. I'm not saying it's predictive of nationals. I just, for whatever reason, I've got strong feelings that Oregon's going to have a massive weekend and shake things up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing their rookie class in action. I think they've got some pretty promising sparks, but I got to see Colorado in action at CCC. I think they are looking excellent right now. I'm gonna go against you. Differentiate, Keith. This one's for you, man. Colorado winning the tournament.
How come you make good picks for Keith, and then you just when I'm away, you pick the bizarro teams? Where's your slow wins it all pick?
I don't know. Why did Mickey make those brooms carry buckets of water? You can't question magic.
All right, let's take a look at the streaming schedule for this weekend. We've got 2 games around coming your way, 3-day tournament because it's President's Day. So we've got the full streaming schedule up on the website as well and on our social media. There's a look at the day 1 streams. UC San Diego, Western Washington in the women's division, Cal Poly Slow versus Minnesota. That's going to be a great early one to watch. Whole North Central watching that one closely. UBC, Washington in a battle of the best teams in the Northwest, and Stanford and Colorado. On the men's side, we've got Oregon State taking on Cal, Utah taking on Colorado State, Stanford versus Cal Poly, and Santa Cruz, UCSD. What's your number 1 matchup on the board to watch?
Come on, do we even need to talk about it? 1:00 p.m. UBC Washington Element. Like that's the number 1 thing to watch before UBC and Carleton play at some point this weekend.
Day 2 is all power pools. We'll know those matchups, of course, after the day on Saturday. And then Monday, we've got our schedule for the bracket. We've got the semis for the women's division in the morning, followed by the final, and then the men's semis and the men's final later in the day. So lock in for a great holiday weekend, and can't wait to watch. I'll be producing the games this weekend, so going to be locked in right along with you, Edward.
Yeah, I can't wait.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Queen City tune-up happening out east, and some important games happening there as well. We'll break it down next.
I got the time today. I'm I'm looking for all of the fades, want all of the smoke. All of my goals inside of the scope. I'm taking it hill, then coming for more. Woke up, didn't even stretch. I'm placing my bets on myself. I be doing the most. Why you always talk like you wanted to go? I ain't gotta speak cause I already know. This ain't been new to me, a news to me. I came out the womb unique. Shine bright like jewelry. Of course, you don't wanna fool with me. I got views to see and gifts to use. I got everything to gain and none to lose, and he can prove. I took his burden and yoke. It's like moose when I hit the moves. You can't tell me anything. I mean anything. That's for sure. I already know. I know my identity. My identity from the go. I told you I already know. You can't tell me anything. I mean anything. That's for sure. I already know. I know my identity.
Thank God this is not a football podcast. Because if I'm not talking about the 49ers, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Witherspoon did play great for the Seahawks, but Christian Gonzalez is on the Patriots. And he did make some sweet plays, and he was like the only thing that was going well for the Patriots. But I don't know ball clearly, Edward.
That's all right. I don't either.
All right. We move on. Keep in mind, block of the year, subscriber voting is open right now. Picking the plays that make it into the block of the year bracket. It's going to be a lot of fun, as the earlier votes have been. Do you already know which block you're thinking of for the championship run, Edward?
I know, actually. The top blocks are super tight, in my opinion. I have an eye on both Kelly Highland blocks and the Manu Cardenas block. All of those are from Nationals, I think. And then on the men's side, I don't think the camera angle does it justice, but there's a Toba DeCrena block from Pro Champs that when it happened, I was sort of like gobsmacked. So maybe that one, or maybe I'll pick another one. Maybe the Dylan block from World Games could be a championship winner.
That's you can't ask for a bigger block and a bigger spot. I don't think that's about as big as it gets. So check that out. And then the full block of the year brackets will be up soon on the website. Let's talk Queen City. Let's start on the men's side of QCTU and take a look at the pools for this year. Of course, we will be streaming at Queen City as well. So make sure you tune in for that. Should be North Carolina up there at the top. They don't even sign up for their own tournament. What's going on?
I love this. This is psychological warfare at its finest.
Penn State, Tufts, Wilmington, Chicago, Virginia, NC State, and Davenport round out the top 8 seeds. Yes, Davenport. This will be presumed D1 debut of Davenport. I don't think that the official commitment has to take place quite yet for D1 versus D3, but everything we've heard is that they're going D1. And, they get a feisty Yale team from the looking decent in the Metro East, Case Western, App State, and then, of course, the big dog UNC. That'll be something to watch for after they came up short last year trying to win a D3 title. But lots to see here. Is UNC still clearly the favorite, or do you think about Penn State as maybe being the team to beat here this weekend?
I mean, it's hard to know what to make of UNC behind that cloak of invisibility they're wearing on Score Reporter right now. But yeah, I think there is a chance Penn State could be the better team, especially this weekend. If I'm laying odds, I think it's probably 80% likely that UNC are going to win this tournament, with Penn State and maybe Tufts having a chance beyond that. But this is not a question I was asking myself at this time last year, and it is. Josh Singleton, still amazing. Matt Barcelos does incredible work for whichever line he's playing on. Both breeds are looking great. They have a lot of depth with Watkins Parker. I'm not worried about this year's UNC team from will they perform well? It's just a question of how well, and the ceiling and the floor seem just maybe a tad shifted than they have been in the past. Last year, I know they went out in quarters, but I still feel like the ceiling was championship. I feel like that's the level of ultimate we saw from them, even though it didn't happen. Whereas this year, I don't think I feel like the ceiling is championship. Love to be wrong. And I think the floor could be quarters, pre-quarters, rather than, an inch away from making semis.
I agree. And, Penn State, is it crazy to say that they have a pretty similar spectrum of range? Like they go to nationals last year, they return a lot of their top talent. They're going to be that little bit more experienced. This is a really good Penn State team, and this is a great prove it weekend for them. I think, and they could lose in the final, and it would still be a very successful weekend. But I'm considering them as a potential pick here to win this thing. I think they're good enough, and I think North Carolina is not as deep and dangerous as they have been over the last 10 years, really. I mean, this is probably the first time it really feels like we come into a year and you don't automatically include UNC in the championship contender discussion, because I just don't think they're in it.
We could be proven wrong, but yeah, I'm with you. I don't think right now for me that they're in it either. That Penn State team, I'm looking at 3 players to see not just whether they win this tournament, but where I feel like their ceiling is. I want to see how much Logan Percy is willing to step up and be the guy and take risks. I'm looking to see how consistently Ethan Pigeon, who we know can make plays at a moment's notice, I want to see how consistently he steps up to make those plays and how consistently he gets open. And I want to see what kind of effect the rookie Nolan McClintock, who's one of those rookies we're keeping an eye on, has this weekend as well. So those are kind of keys for them, touchstones that we're going to want to watch this weekend.
I will note, last time they played, UNC and Penn State, was at the 2025 College Championships. First game of the tournament, UNC won 15-11. Given the changes, I feel like it's not quite a coin flip game for me, and it's obviously February, and it's not peak in May, but I think this is a UNC -1.5 type of game. So pretty something I want to keep an eye on for sure.
I think your line's a little close there, but I agree it's not assured. I'm watching it with my eyebrows raised before it starts at this point.
What else you got here? What are you watching for?
Tufts had a pretty good Florida warm-up. I think they'll back it up here. They have a lot of really good kind of undersung players since they've been, a little bit out of nationals on the outside looking in New England. Elliot Malone makes huge plays. Silas Grossman is really good. A few more guys whose names are not coming to me in this minute. Sorry, guys, but I'll be watching this weekend. So I'm interested to see that whether Tufts can challenge, for instance, a Penn State, and if they are clearly a step ahead of the rest of the field. That's what I expect. And then there's a big swath of teams in the middle who could all be in that bid contention range. Tons from the AC, obviously. Wilmington, Virginia, William and Mary. People have been talking about, they think UNC Charlotte is a bit overseeded. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. We'll find out. Chicago and Notre Dame from the Great Lakes, and also Davenport from the Great Lakes, to see if we can get a second Great Lakes bid and not just have to play Squire to Michigan in that region. And then Yale, shockingly to me anyway, had kind of a nice weekend at Florida warm-up as well. What can they do here? Could Yale beat Davenport? I think that's a legit question.
Yeah, I mean, Yale had some weird losses, but they also had some pretty nice wins. Beating Georgia maybe doesn't mean all that much considering how Georgia looked at warm up, but they were right there with Texas A&M. They're not world beaters, but maybe they're the best team in the Metro East. Not crazy. I think Cornell probably still the favorite until proven otherwise, but
I think Ottawa, but yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, Yale is suddenly in the mix there.
I will note as well, I think the AC, very interesting bid conversations this weekend. Can we see one of these teams emerge? Right now, Obviously, it's very early, and we had Carolina kickoff canceled, so a lot of these teams haven't played yet. Um, but a couple AC teams up there in bid earning range in the men's division, Carolina and Virginia. It's obviously super early, but could we see them finally get through to more like a three bid type of region? I think capability has been there, but they have just not been able to find those teams to step up. And so maybe this is the year. A little bit of a flatter region. And Queen City always offers some opportunities for teams further down the line to make a name for themselves. So semis picks, I'm going UNC, Penn State, Tufts, and that last spot's really tough. I'm going to take Virginia.
Riding that night train.
Is it crazy to think about Davenport, though?
Honestly, it's not. They're good.
Davenport was like, what did they end up last year? They were like top 20 ranked in like D1 last year, if they were included in D1. So, I mean, obviously, I think they were a little over maybe ranked because of the weird, windy Huck Finn, but Davenport's got a lot of good players. So, but I'm going UNC, Penn State, Tufts. Go ahead.
Oh, a lot of Southeast club representation on that Davenport team. Jacob Felton and Colin Hill. So I love to see that.
Yeah. So then for the finals, give me Carolina, Penn State. I mean, I think the seeding advantage helps them for sure. And in the end, Edward, I'm gonna take Carolina, but close.
I'm just going to get away. I'm also taking North Carolina to win this tournament. I think they will be the best team. I think maybe Penn State scores an upset, but I still really like this North Carolina team. Questions for them really come at Smoky and Easterns. I also want Penn State to make the finals. I feel like we're going to get a little bit of an upset. I'm calling Virginia and Wilmington to be the other two teams. I like the talent on both of those teams. Tyler Husband and Matt Callan are two of the better players in the AC for Virginia, and Wilmington have a bunch of good players. Stuart Kelly or Christian Bellis could end up being the best player at this tournament. Maybe Josh Singleton and Logan Percy are also maybe the best players of the tournament. So we'll see. But those guys are really good. Don't forget what Stuart Kelly did with Red Tide in the club division this year. And then to make the final against UNC, I think it's probably Penn State. But you know what? I'm going to play the Wilmington card here. Keith, you're on the hook for a Wilmington run to the final. I feel like, given the weather predictions for this weekend's Queen City, the final might not even happen. So I'm getting kind of like a freebie here to give you a wild pick. I think there's a bunch of talent there. I think they could do it.
All right. Interesting stuff. Let's go to the women's division. Generally a little bit stronger than the men's division at this tournament historically. And some good teams in the mix. Vermont is your number 1 seed. Then Tufts, UNC, the 3 seed. Crazy. Michigan, Penn, Georgia, Virginia, and Texas round out the top 8. Lots of like Nationals hopefuls in this field, and a few bona fide Nationals teams. Boy, that Michigan Penn game jumps off the page over there in Pool D as a place to start in terms of big games on day one. But I think there's just a lot for teams in this field to prove, and I don't feel like there's an obvious favorite. Am I crazy to say that?
Yes, and here's why. I think that I'm not. Let me click the roster right now for Vermont. I'm not 100% certain, but I think it's likely that Caroline Stone is not going to be playing this weekend for Vermont. She's listed on the roster. I hope I'm wrong. I cannot wait to see Caroline Stone play again, but I believe she's recovering from an injury. I don't know when she's going to start. If she's playing, throw everything I'm saying out the window. But absent that, I think this is Tufts' tournament to lose. Remember, they went through the entire season undefeated last year. They still have Leah Schwartz. They still have Annabelle White. They still have Kate Gearing. This is a tremendously talented team, and as we've talked about before, like Stanford, often one of the 2 or 3 best coached teams in the country, year in and year out. They've got all the pieces they need to continue to be at the top of this division. I think they're great.
I think for me, it's that I think Tufts is going to be a little bit worse than last year. Not that I don't think they're going to be great. And that, like Michigan, Penn, Vermont, UNC, these are all legitimate teams. I just don't think it's super obvious, especially considering we have a lot of rain in the forecast on Sunday. It's QCTU. There's going to be some horrible conditions at some point. So I think there's just some other teams that could make a move here, but certainly the way Tufts played last year, if they bring that again, good luck beating them.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Vermont; they have a number of players who are all hitting their form at the same time. They're sort of third-year trio of Annie Posey, Tatum Kubrilovich. I think it's Kubrilovich. Sorry if I'm wrong, Tatum. And Ella Monahan are pretty spectacular, even without Caroline Stone. I think Willa Morales is going to take a big step forward since her freshman year last year. And they continue to recruit really well from the entire New England region, including Western Massachusetts and Maine. So, yeah, they're probably going to be up there. I think North Carolina still have plenty in the tank. I think they're, like we saw during their taper off and eventual national slide last year, I think they're not championship level anymore, but they could be win Queen City level. And yeah, I'm also intrigued by Penn. Michigan is the real wild card here in that they return some really major top level talent, but have also churned through last year's roster in a huge way. They have something like 12 or 13 rookies, like half the roster was turned over. So I'm curious to see what they look like out of the gate, how much of a rebuilding effort this year is going to be, and how much Penn might be able to take advantage of that.
Let me note, UNC is the top ranked team among the teams at the tournament. They are number 7. Vermont is 8. Tufts is 9. Michigan is 13. Penn is 14. This is why I think it's unclear what's going to shake out. I'm surprised. Carolina's getting a lot of credit for their historical performance, I feel like, in our current college power rankings, because I do not think they are the most talented team in the field. And I have to say, I'd be surprised if they won the tournament.
You don't think that experience
away,
rubbed off on those players?
I mean,
that's stuff that carries through a generation or two.
But I just don't know that they have the actual players to go out and be at the level that we've seen from them. Maybe people will emerge that we haven't been talking about, but I just think that not that they don't have some good players, right? Caroline DeWolf, Bella Russell, great players, but they have lost so much talent over the last 2 seasons. It's hard to replace that. It's hard for players to learn how to play in those roles. I expect lumps to be taken before they start to find some rhythm.
Agreed. In the meantime, I think there are also a number of other very intriguing teams here. Everywhere from Michigan is the start in terms of the intrigue, just because even though they're ranked highly, I'm not sure I know what to expect from them. But from Georgia at 6 on, I want to say all the way until Wisconsin at 16. These are all teams that I'm really eager to get an eye on and to see how they step up. I mean, out of that group, we have Georgia ranked the highest. Personally, and I'm not being a homer here, I feel very strongly that this is going to be a really good Georgia year, but I don't know. I've loved what I've seen from Texas. I don't know how they're going to play out. Pittsburgh and Notre Dame have major like club breakout stars between Taylor Conroy at Pittsburgh and Lily Hobday is still at Notre Dame. Georgetown and William and Mary keep overperforming every year at AC Regionals. There's a lot to like on the board.
Yeah. And it feels like it could be a huge marginal bid weekend. You think about the impact of this tournament later in the season. Playing well here could mean the difference between your region getting a bid and not, because it's a lot of teams in that kind of like 20 to 50 window. Maybe I should say more like 10 to 35. That tends to, make or break what happens with the bids. So lots to watch for. Let's take a look. Oh, no, we got to make our picks. Edward, you're up first.
Okay. Simi's picks give me Tufts, North Carolina, Vermont, and the fourth one is where I'm not sure I know where I want to go. I don't know how often I'm going to get a chance to do this, so I'm picking the home team, my home team, Georgia, to make semis here. They've got Quincy Booth in her senior year. Keely Baker is looking really good. Jamia Johnson's looking great. They're looking deeper than I think they have the last 3 or 4 years. So, we'll see if they prove me right. And then in the final, Tufts and UNC, and give me Tufts to win.
I don't know what the heck to do. I'm going to be honest.
Semis.
I'm going Vermont, Tufts. I'm going Vermont, Tufts, Michigan, Penn. No Carolina. The fade is on.
Big stuff, Charlie.
Give me the all New England final. And I don't know. Do I want to do that? No. I think Michigan upsets Vermont and Tufts beats Penn. So I have Tufts, Michigan in the final, and give me Tufts. But I have no idea what's going to happen this weekend.
You, I think, have outbolded me, Charlie. Well done.
Let's find out what happens. Let's take a look at the streaming schedule where you can watch it all unfold. We've got some great ones for you lined up. We've got a game from both divisions every round. Northeastern, William and Mary, starting on the women's side. Texas, Wisconsin at 10:15. Virginia, Notre Dame at 1:45. And then that circled one for me, Michigan, Penn at 3:30. On the men's side, we've got Alabama, Huntsville versus South Carolina. Then Davenport, Case Western. NC State, William and Mary in an early AC battle. And Tufts, Virginia, close out the day at 3:30. Looking ahead to day number 2. Hopefully everything goes smoothly and no issues with the weather. We've got women's quarters in the morning, then men's quarter and a women's semi in the second round, men's semi, women's final in the third round, and the men's final closes out at 1:45. If we go back to the first slide, what's the game you've got circled, Edward?
You already mentioned Michigan Penn on the women's side. I like both last round games, both the last 2 round games on the men's side. I think this is kind of in the weeds, but I'm pretty interested in Atlantic Coast pecking order. If they have 2 bids, who's actually going to be in the lead for that second bid? So I'm looking at that NC State William and Mary game. You could also get like a Henri Lassard versus Marcus Lee matchup that could be pretty electric. I think that could be a low-key, pretty great game.
Awesome stuff. All right. Quick note before we get to our mailbag question of the week. The Western Ultimate League has a new executive director. This was just announced like today at, I don't know, an hour or 2 before the show. Will Griffin is the new executive director of the Western Ultimate League. He has been one of the owners and players at times for the San Diego Growlers for I think over 10 years now. and he's stepping in. Not really much else in terms of like the what and the why here, but I think they had an interim ED for a few months, and now Will Griffin will step in as the head of the Western Ultimate League. So new leadership in both of the women's semi-pro leagues.
Yeah, and honestly, I like to see it. This happens in every, not from a stance of, oh, the old leadership wasn't doing a good job, but organizations get to different phases in their existence. And both the WUL and the PUL, at least from the outside, appear to be in kind of a stable, we're here mode. Like we've planted ourselves, we have roots growing, and now it's time to bring in fresh ideas and maybe even people with kind of a fresh reserve of energy, which these can be really draining enterprises to help us thrive in a big way. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see what Emma, who you interviewed last week at the PUL, and Will can bring to these two leagues.
Same. It's an exciting opportunity, and obviously Will's got a lot of experience working in the semi-pro environment, and that's I think super helpful when trying to run a league. All right, mailbag question of the week. We don't actually have a question this week, Edward. We have the results from last week's.
What a
question
bait
of
and
the week,
switch, Charlie.
which was, and I'll ask you before we get the results. Oh, it's too late. The results are on the screen. The question was, how many players do you think have won a tournament in their careers? And we include Summer League. And there was big debate. I mean, Keith thought that only something like 15 or 20% of players had won a tournament. And I said it was completely inverse, that it was more like 75% of players had won a tournament. And the results from our Instagram poll, 82% of respondents said that they had won a tournament. Now, Instagram is not this is not a double blind randomized trial or anything like that. Like, this is our Instagram story, but I feel like it's a decently representative sample of players. No?
I think so. And yeah, I listened to that discussion last week, and yeah, just to answer your question, yeah, I've won tournaments in the past. And the key for like players like me who are not nationals level players, except probably ultimate, let's be real, is that you can get on a decent regionals level team or even a cuspy regionals level team, and you can go to a tournament that does not have that much cachet and play a bunch of teams that are at your level, or maybe skill wise at your level, but way more disorganized, or just not at your level at all. And you can clean up. I did that in near Lexington, Kentucky at a tournament called Bourbon Bash one year. It was great. We ran the table. They gave us a bottle of bourbon afterwards. I've won some sectionals. We've won my most recent club team, Hooch, would host a local tournament and win it because we would invite all the teams we weren't that good, but we invited all the other teams who weren't even as good as we were. It's easy to win a tournament. You just rig the competition.
Make your own tournament and invite all the horrible teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this sounds right to me. Especially if you add in leagues, like anybody can get dragged to a title on a league team. But I mean, I think directionally it's clear that most people have won a tournament. But more than half of Ultimate players have won a tournament that compete in a tournament environment. So interesting note.
Certainly
I don't
more
think
than
I
half
would
of
have
the
guessed it would be
sickos
quite
in our
this
Discord.
high. Yes. Oh, definitely. I think everyone in the Ultra World Discord has won a tournament. And if you haven't won a tournament, you can join the Ultra World Discord and guarantee yourself a win in 2026. So go to ultraworld.com/subscribe. Any level of subscription gets you in to the Discord and gets you, of course, access to bonus deep look segments and exclusive articles and a whole lot more. And if you're a standard or all access subscriber, you can watch the streams this weekend at Prez Day and QCTU. It's the biggest weekend so far of the college season. Tons of top 25 teams in action, and we're going to learn a lot and see potentially some super matchups in the finals of these tournaments. So join us. We look forward to having you there. Thanks so much, Edward, for coming on the show.
My pleasure. As one of the 82% of people who have won a tournament, it was my pleasure to be their representative here today with you, Charlie.
Uh, together we have won. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Keith Rayner will be back next week, I think. But shouts
Probably.
to the Rayner family as they some health stuff, nothing bad, just a recovery week for them. And so Keith is out tending to the house, and we look forward to having him back. And Edward, thanks for joining us, and looking forward to watching some Prez Day with you this weekend. All right, everybody, we will see you next week right here on Deep Look. Don't miss our sub bonus live in the Discord later today.
Outfolded. Damn.
I had to do it to you.